and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today we're going to be going over the SUQQU limited edition spring quad in number 101. This is in the new signature color eyes formula, and I think this is beautiful. When I first saw photos of this, I was like, oh, that's not my kind of color story. And then the more I kept seeing them, and when you see the photos in different lighting, things look a little different. I ended up becoming really enamored with this palette, and as soon as I was able to get this, I snatched it up. So I missed it on the original launch, but I was able to get it during the restock. And if you look at the color descriptions, they describe this palette as oranges and purples. These are not purple. They are more blue. This is really more of like a Wedgwood blue, and this is like a blue topper shade. And I do have swatches of all of the new signature color eyes SUQQU palettes in a separate video. So if you're interested in that, I have that along with color comparisons. So I will leave that linked down below. And I also have a review of the formula in the review for the 06 palette. So I will leave both of those linked below if you're interested. Let's start with some swatches of this palette. So here are the 4 shades. And this formula is buildable. So this is just one layer swatched with each of these. You can see that this first one here is going to be an iridescent pale blue topper shade. It is pretty sheer, okay? So you're not really going to get much buildup applying this over and over. So you'll get more sparkle, but it has more of a sheer base. Then we have this matte orange shade. This is kind of like a pumpkin butternut squash kind of shade. And it's matte, but it's not a flat matte. There is a little bit of a sheen to it. Then we have this blue, which to me is the traditional Wedgwood blue kind of shade. My house that I grew up in, this was like my mother's color of choice for decorating. So that's what it makes me think of. It's kind of, that steel blue. It's got blue tones, but there are some gray tones to it. So it's a cool shade. And then we have this shade here, which is more of a soft burnt orange. And you can see that it has a satin sheen. That's why I'm moving my arm. Hopefully it's catching the light. But this one is going to be a true satin. So maybe if I turn it like this, you can see the finishes a bit as well. So this Wedgwood blue, by the way, it does have the tiniest bit of shimmer in it. I'm not sure if you can see it in the pan. There, you can see a little bit of sparkle there. There's just a tiny bit. It's not really evident when you wear it on its own. And it does have a little bit of a satin sheen to it, but it doesn't have quite as much of a satin sheen as the orange. It's still satin and not matte though. So just something to note. Now, overall, I haven't played with all of the palettes yet. I've swatched them all, but I haven't worn them all in my eyes. My 2 favorites, though, and the ones that I was looking forward to the most from this new launch were the 06 palette and this one, number 101. This one is limited edition, so if you are interested in it, definitely pick that up right away. This is Harugumo. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but there it is. And these shadows, they are 0.21 ounces or 6.2 grams. They are made in Japan and they have a 12-month shelf life. The palette itself it's a black plastic palette. You have a full-size mirror here, magnetic closure. It comes with a little brush and a little foam tip applicator. They're dual-ended. And there is a piece of plastic here that covers the shadows so you're not, getting the mirror all dirty. And I usually remove that. You have gold trim here on the sides, and this differs from the previous formula, the Designing Color Eyes, which I'll show you in a second. The Designing Color Eye palettes have the black front as well, but the back is going to be gold. So you can tell that they are a different formula. And they're also going to be a slightly different size here. So you can see that they're a little bit shorter. They're also smaller gram-wise. So this is 5.6 grams or 0.19 ounces. So just something to note. They are slightly different. And it's kind of hard to tell, but There is the very slightest difference in the width here of the palette. So the Designing Color Eyes is slightly wider. So this is a little bit more square versus the rectangular shape here. I have a couple of eye looks to show you with this palette. I'm going to share those with you now. And then I have a few more comparisons that I do not have included in the swatch video. So we'll go over that. I'll go over my thoughts on the palette. I'll see you in a second. All right, so we are going to be testing out the SUQQU 101 palette. This is a limited edition for the spring, and I'm starting off with the rougher 15, and I'm gonna go into this shade up here. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of this in the crease. I have on the Tom Ford Emotion Proof eyeliner. And if you are familiar with my channel, you know that I don't typically wear a lot of orange, these like more orange terracotta type shades. So I'm actually going to be focusing on the blue, just making that a touch deeper. All right, and next I'm taking the SUQQU Worker Pro. I'm going to go into this deeper shade. Now, I haven't swatched these, but SUQQU calls these purples. To me, they look more like a Wedgwood blue type shade. So let's see what it looks like on the eye. Yeah, I still really think it's more blue. Look at that. And I think blue goes perfectly with these more terracotta orange shades. Oh, complementary colors. So just going up to the halfway point. We're going to keep this really simple. Okay, same brush, wiped it off, going into the lighter shade. I'm going to put that on the rest of the lid there. So you can see that this shade is very sheer. It looks like it could actually be used more as a topper. Just gonna go for a sheer wash today. Then I'm taking the Esom T05 into this deepest shade again, and I'm just going to put this right along the upper and lower lash line. So this is going to be it for today's eye look. Very light, very simple. So this is the final look from a distance. I have the new Sisley So Stretch Mascara on in brown, the blush in shade 125 from SUQQU Spring Collection, and then on the lips, I actually have a mix. Most of the lip is 102 from the SUQQU Spring Collection. This is the Lip Glow. And then I dabbed just a tiny bit of 105 from the Lip Fog from the Spring Collection on top, just to add a little bit more of that pinkish reddish tone to it. I think it all turned out pretty well. All right, so today I want to focus more on the oranges here and just do a light dusting of blue on top. So we're going to start off with the S33, and I'm wearing the Hourglass Veil Eye Primer on. I'm going to go into this matte shade. So I've got plenty of product on the brush. Then I'm taking the Builder Pro from SUQQU, and I'm going to go into this deeper orange, and I'm going to put this on basically all over the lid. So you can see that this bottom shade here, I mean, you can see right in the pan, but it's this beautiful like satin shimmer on there. I really like the luster on there. Now, this orange shade, I can see looking beautiful on people with slightly warmer undertones. I don't think it looks that bad on me actually, but you know, I do think it would look better on people with warmer undertones. I actually really like this shade though. I'm wiping off the brush. I'm gonna go into the deep blue, And I'm just gonna add a touch of this at the outer corner. And I wanna see how this kind of blends in with the orange. So you can see that it's not really showing up super well. It's kind of blending away there. It tones it down, but you're not really seeing that bluish gray shade. And you know, that's okay. It's just not really what I expected. Just gonna add just a touch more. I think it's just not opaque enough. So overall, although that shade didn't show up exactly how I expected it to, I do like the effect. It actually blends very nicely with it. You can still see like a bit of gray in there, but it really gives a seamless blend, adds a little bit of dimension. So although it's not what I expected, I do like it. Wiped off the Builder Pro, and now I'm gonna go into this light blue shade, and I'm just going to use this kind of as a topper. So I'm gonna start in the inner corner here. And I'm just gonna apply a little bit of this all over the lid, and I'm working in small bits. So there it is. I think overall that just kind of, it cooled it down a little bit, and you've got the tiniest bit of blue sparkle on there. And it's not really all that noticeable. Obviously the orange is still the major focus here, but I think it looks nice like that. I'm gonna line the eyes with the Linda Hallberg crayon in Guilty Mood. And I'm going to use this on the upper lash line and a little bit on the lower lash line as well. So on the lower lash line, I'm just going up to there, and then I'm going to blend that out. Taking this smudge or two from Sonia G, and I'm just going to kind of blur that a little bit. All right, so this is the final eye look up close. I'm gonna add some mascara, finish my makeup, and see you in a sec. So this is the final look from a distance. I decided to go all out with the orange. So on my cheeks, I have the SUQQU blush in 125 from the spring collection. And the highlight is the peachy shade from the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust palette. And then on my lips, I have one of the limited edition spring lip glows. This is number 102. You can see that it's a nice, vibrant orange. And overall, I think it's an interesting look. So it's different from what I usually do, but I like it. I hope that was helpful so you can really see the depth and dimension behind these colors and how they pair well together. I think that these two eye looks really kind of demonstrated how the shadows perform, and you can see how they interact with each other. Now, I wanted to compare the Guerlain Holiday Palette from this past year. This is the Golden Pea palette. And, you know, the orange shades here with this blue, it kind of made me think of this color story. So I'm going to swatch these. So I swatched these two and then this one. Even though this last one is a bit deeper, I do think that it provides a similar color story. You can see how much lighter the Guerlain, powders actually are. They're a little bit more sheer. And you can see that this blue shade is really going to have a little bit of a stronger base. You can wear this on its own. It's going to be a light, soft shade. It's not so much of a topper, but you still kind of get a very similar color story to this palette. So if you already have the Guerlain Holiday palette, it is another option. I also wanted to compare it to the SUQQU Holiday palette, one of my very favorite eyeshadow palettes. So we're gonna go ahead and compare these four shades here in the center. So I included this gold one, even though it's not really a shade here, but I wanted to note that these three are all going to be shimmery metallic shades. And this last soft pumpkin shade is going to be a matte. You can see it's going to be a little bit more similar to this shade here. The formula on these is different. And then shimmer wise, you can see that the 101 palette, this is going to be more blue. It's also not as pigmented. Again, this is really meant more to be a topper, whereas this one here in the holiday palette can be worn on its own. And then this steel blue has a little bit more of a deeper base, and you can kind of see a little bit more of a purpley blue vibe to it compared to this one, which really is more gray blue. But again, you're still gonna get a similar color story to it. So my thoughts on this palette, I personally really love this palette. I think it's gorgeous. I love the sheen on the orange shade here. I love the effect of the blue topper. I really like the combination of all of these, and you know, it surprised me because it's, you know, orange is not a color I typically wear on my eyes, but I really ended up enjoying this. And you know, it is a limited edition palette. It goes quickly. SUQQU launches, they go very fast. And even if you're attracted to this, unless you have the, you know, Selfridges global shipping, or you're able to get it at Cult Beauty and build up a cart to get free shipping, you know, it's a little bit hard to access here in the States. So I wanted to be sure to give you some other options in case they're easier. Now the holiday palette, again, was also limited edition. I'm not sure if that's still available now, but if it is, I will leave it linked down below in the description box as well. I think it is a great, great palette. Again, these are going to be different formulas than either the Designing Color Eyes or the Signature Color Eyes from SUQQU. This is a one-off. So these are actually made in Italy, whereas all of their other eyeshadows are made in Japan. They have different finishes, and you know, they're gorgeous. So I definitely love this. If you're not able to get your hands on the 101 palette and you really like it, again, I do think that both of these are some viable options. And then please be sure to check out the swatch video that I have for any other similar shades. But I think, you know, regardless of having this palette itself, I think it's a gorgeous and inspiring color story. And, you know, I do think mixing in some purple with here would be really nice as well. So overall, I really like this particular formula. The shadows all pair very well together. They blend out nicely. I did note during the second eye look that adding the deeper blue on top of the orange, it kind of blended away a bit, but it still gave that dimension to the outer eyelid that I was looking for. So even though I don't see too much of the actual shade, it still gave me a really nice look. So I'm not mad about it, but it is something I want to be sure to note. These colors in general though, and this formula, they're very buildable. So what you see in the pan is what you can get on your eyes. So some of these shades though, you know, you just want to layer to get more color, and that is intentional. Japanese makeup is typically very soft, very light, more on the sheer side. So with one layer, for most of these SUQQU quads, you're going to get a very light sheer wash of color. Add another layer and it deepens, and they build very easily. You don't need effort to build these up. You can get really deep pigmented looks. You just have to make sure that you're picking a palette that has deeper shades in it, such as something like this, where these oranges go a bit deeper. Just to show you how these can get deeper, this is one swatch of the 101 again. And there are two swatches, so two layers. You can see that the topper shade, you notice more sparkle, but again, it's really more of a sheer base. So you're not going to really get a lot of pigment, but you can see how much deeper those got. And let's add one more layer here. There you go. And I tried to kind of make it not completely on top, so you can kind of see a little bit of the edges. So you can see how much deeper these were able to get. So these are definitely buildable shadows. And I think that is something that's really good about this particular formula. So all in all, I absolutely love this palette. I think it is really fun to play with. I ended up really liking these orange shades, even if I just went with a completely like orange look like I did today. I think the blue helps to cool it off, make it a little bit more wearable for people like me with the neutral / cool undertones. And I think building like a blue look and so forth with this is also incredibly beautiful. So I really enjoyed this palette. I really enjoy the formula. And again, if you're not able to get your hands on it, hopefully you're able to access similar shades with some of the suggestions that I've made, or perhaps something you already have in your own collection. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope to see you very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.